Welcome aboard the Finding Joy at Sea podcast. This podcast is for anyone who loves to hear the stories behind the stories of life at sea. Whether you work in the industry, love cruising, or are thinking about a new career, you're in the right place. I am your host, Laura Fraser, a 20-plus year cruise industry veteran and the author of the Joy at Sea series of children's books. I love sharing the joy of the journey. So, anchors away. It's time to set sail. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Finding Joy at Sea podcast. I am so excited for today's episode. I am joined by a wonderful human being, a colleague, and even more importantly, a dear friend, Anthony Richards. Anthony, thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Laura, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here. And, I think what you're doing is such a great way to get, the message out about all these wonderful experiences that you can have at sea, both professional and more importantly, personal, that can really guide, your life's journey from in a professional way and develop also in such a cool personal way. So I can't wait to get into it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Now, Anthony, we met in previous roles at previous employers, and I just want to say, I learned such a tremendous amount from you and your leadership style. I think one of the things I really loved working for you with was that if somebody told you they wanted to grow in a certain way, or they had a certain role in mind or a certain career path, it didn't matter if it benefited you directly to, be helping you with what you needed to get done. It mattered if it was benefiting them. And you really helped develop all of us into that role. Before we even took the role, we started doing the job that we said we wanted. And your support in that way and your confidence in your team is just something that really inspired me and just reminded me of what leadership can really look like. So thank you for that.
Wow. Thank you, Laura. That's special. And I think that, for those of us who have the privilege to lead others and help shape, the path forward, it's our responsibility to really help people realize their true potential. And I just think that's one of the coolest things that you get to do as a leader is really help people find their way. My philosophy is always, I'm simply a navigator. You must be the driver, and you let me know the course you want to be on. And it's my responsibility as a leader to keep you on track. So if you veer left or right, I guide you back, but ultimately you have to be the driver. And you are definitely one of those drivers, as we can see now. So
Thank
great.
you. We didn't all start as leaders or executives, certainly, even though that's where a lot of us have ended up. So I want to just take you back, get in the time machine. Let's take you back to when you even heard that working on a cruise ship was a possibility for you.
Well, it started back when I really graduated university in 2002. I graduated with a business degree, and I'd grown up going on cruises, mainly on Carnival. My mom took me on. I was an only child, so she felt that was a great, vacation option to be with other kids. So I would do the camps and meet people, and I really had a great time. I loved going on cruises. And when I got out of university, before I got the real job, I was like, I want to do something that allows me to travel, meet people, and get paid to do it. And cruise ships was a natural fit for that. Now, what I wanted to do on the ship, I had no idea. I literally went on websites and I was signing up to be a bartender and a housekeeper. I didn't care because I just wanted to get on ships and explore the world and meet people. Um, I didn't get any hits back from the actual websites of the cruise lines, but through a family friend, they knew a recruiter. And it was a lady named Kimberly Kyle, just cruising recruitment. She might still be out there doing her thing. And Kimberly reached out to me. I was living in Mexico because I'd been on exchange there. So I remember running down to an internet cafe back in those days that had these cameras that we all have now. And I had my flip flops and shorts on, my bottom, and up top I looked just like I do today. Interview, and it was for a youth staff job. And I had some experience with youth. I was a youth mentor at university, so I definitely maybe over embellished my experience with youth, but I also spoke Spanish, which really helped at the time because there was a lot of Spanish speaking youth staff. So I ended up getting the job there and then on the spot. And then it was that experience that many of us have had. How fast can you be ready to go?
Right.
And I remember being in Mazatlan, Mexico, and wrapping my life up in 2, 3 days, flying back to my hometown, Vancouver, Canada, doing my medical, getting all my ducks in a row. And I think within 3 weeks, I was heading to the Champion of the Seas in Fort Lauderdale. And I remember the night before I landed, the night before I was joining, and I got a call to say, hey, we want you to fly to Galveston instead, or Houston, to join in Galveston on the Rhapsody. So I had the next day fly to Houston for the Rhapsody before it set sail. And here we go. And I was a youth staff for about 2 years in a bit. I did a couple of contracts. I did the takeout of the Mariner of the Seas, taking on the Jewel of the Seas as a youth staff. And then my aspiration, I realized there are management roles on cruise ships. And my goal was always to be a leader of a multinational corporation living somewhere. That was what I thought I would do. And I realized on ships, you can manage teams of people from many different nationalities, and you can do it all in the cruise environment. So I was using everything I had from my university. I was ticking a lot of boxes. I became a youth activity manager for about 2.5 years, and then I thought I need to keep growing. I want to stay on ships, and I need to keep growing. So I decided to um, uh, become a marketing and revenue manager. I think that made total sense with my skill set and background. And I asked, my leader was Ken Rush, if you know the director, now the director of Caribbean. And I said to Ken, would you mind in my spare time, and when I'm not working in Adventure Ocean, could I share the M&R? And he said, Anthony, you don't want to be an M&R marketing revenue manager. You want to be a cruise director. You're a cruise director. I said, and I remember my exact ending was, Ken, I can't tell a bad joke is going to see it. And he came up, yes, which was a big deal to have the cruise director in my office. He came up and he really believed that I could do it. And he helped me set a plan and get an audition. And he also said one of the most profound things to me. I bet at the time he didn't even think it would be something that I say to people today. But I told him, I'm not you, Ken. Like she's a showman. He tells jokes. And I just didn't think I was that guy. And he said, Anthony, you're never going to be Ken Rush, but Ken Rush will never be Anthony Richards. And I realized then I had a whole skill set that he didn't have. So to be a successful cruise director, I didn't have to be like Ken. He didn't have to be like me. I could be who I was. And I think that transcends into a lot of things that we do in life, but it made me truly realize that I could do it. And I came to Miami, Florida, where I am right now. I did an audition at the dance studios at Royal Caribbean for a few people. And then I went on my vacation. And 2 weeks later, I got a phone call to be an activities manager, which is an assistant cruise director. And I managed to do that on the Voyager of the Seas for its inaugural Europe season. So I got to use my Spanish again. And I worked with a couple great cruise directors there. And I did one contract on Voyager, went on vacation, did another part of a contract on Splendor in Europe. And then the cruise director had to go on a compassionate leave. And I got tagged in to take over for 2 cruises as cruise director. And it was one of the most scary but thrilling moments of my entire life. And I loved every second of being cruise director. And he came back and I went back to being an activities manager. But the following contract, I got called to be the permanent cruise director for Splendor. And then I went to Radiance. And then for about 7 years after that, I moved around the Royal Caribbean fleet, being a cruise director. And then honestly, best job in the world. Um, and I did that job up until I was 31. And I was ready for my next cut. What am I going to get to next? And I looked continuing on board. And if I continued on board, it would probably be a hotel director. And I thought, do I want a life at sea? Because that for me was like a choice. Or do I want to start to transition shoreside and stay in the industry? And I always wanted to have kids, get married, and have a life on shore. So, but I love this industry too much to leave. So I applied for a role in the Miami office of Royal Caribbean in hotel operations. And I thought I had no chance of getting it. I was on the Adventure of the Seas as a cruise director trying to find roles, and I did about 4 or 5 interviews for this role on the ship. Then they flew me from Malaga to Miami, interview in person. And I thought, well, I'm Canadian. They're going to have to give me visas. They're not going to do that. I thought, I mean, I knew I could do the job, but I just didn't think that I was probably going to be the easiest candidate for
Sure.
them to get in. And 2 weeks after I did that interview in person, I got the phone call and the offer. And I moved down to Miami, Florida. And during that time, I had met a special person. We're such a cliche, but I met Kristen, who was a dancer on board. And I was a cruise director. And for those of you watching who work on ships, you know that dancers and cruise directors, peanut butter and jelly, we go together very well. And we were dating a very short time, but I just felt like with my life move and transition, I wanted her to come with me. So we proposed, or I proposed, and she accepted, and we moved to Miami together. And, to start this new life and hotel operations. And she was working in dance studios down here.
So I want to pause you here because I don't want to like gloss over a couple amazing things that you said. So to go back to just even the beginning, your Genesis story is so similar to mine and everyone else that I've interviewed. It's like this feeling of, okay, I've done all the responsible things I'm supposed to do up until this point, and now I need to like find an adventure, and what's that going to look like? I love to travel. How can I get paid to travel? And cruise ships, is just where a lot of us are very lucky to land. And I loved what you said too about you sent the emails out and you heard nothing. And then it was a friend, who put you in touch with the person that ultimately changed your life. And I think in this generation of up and comers that are trying to work on cruise ships, you know, in our day, definitely you needed, human connections, but even till today, you need that person to like open the door for you. I've been in the industry, same as you, like since 2002, and it's still friends and connections and colleagues that you've made along the way that are opening more doors all of the time. So don't be afraid to tell people what you want and ask them for help. Everybody actually really enjoys helping. And I think so often we're just afraid to even one, say what we want, and two, ask for that help. And really what was like you doing that and finding a friend of a friend who knew the person and that changed your life. The other thing I want to touch on is, so many of us, we start in any role we can get and then we work our way up. I think that that's the most common story on cruise ships. But I loved what you shared about what Ken Rush said to you about your identity, right? Because oftentimes, especially in an entertainment forward facing role like a cruise director, you see somebody doing it well and you think, how can I do what they're doing and be like them and be as funny as them and have the same jokes, and I'll just repeat it and I'll sell it the same way. And it's never genuine, and he gave you that gift of saying like, I don't want you to be me. And, I don't want to be you. Like, just be who you are. And that will resonate with the guests. And like, it is such a gift to somebody who's coming into that new role that maybe they feel ill-equipped for, they don't feel worthy of, like whatever those crazy stories we're telling ourselves are. It was just a one sentence of truth that he spoke to you. One sentence can change someone's life, and then that same sentence can be shared through the person's life that it changed. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
I was in hotel ops for about 15 months, but I kind of felt like it was hard for me to make the transition into corporate America, to be totally honest. Going from
Sure.
working on a cruise ship as your playground, literally, to sitting in a cubicle and just seeing the tops of everyone's heads. And I didn't love that environment. I don't think I was professionally mature enough at that point to make that transition. Or maybe I was, and I just realized that I'm not a super corporate kind of person. I got recruited by a company called Royal Media Partners over on Miami Beach, and they oversaw the port shopping program. And the only thing I knew about shopping guides was they were bugging me to be on the morning show all the time when I'm and watch the announcements and everything else. So I knew a little bit about it, but it was really interesting to step into that retail promotional side of our industry. I was there for just under 7 years due to COVID. But in that time, I ran the promotional wing of that company, and it was just such a blessing and great leadership, great people, loved every second of it. COVID happened, and at first very scary for the cruise industry and the world, of course, but also lots of silver lining. It happened during COVID. And I was out of work 7 months. I didn't know if it was time for me to have a natural professional reset, go into a new industry, because who knew when cruise was coming back? But I had such a deep passion for the industry. Like I still get giddy when I see a cruise ship leaving a port, just because I think they're fantastic machines. They're so neat. So I decided I have to stay in the industry, and I would reach out to my contacts, and as time went on, and one of the contacts that I reached out to was Bobby Hamatian at Effy and Jennifer Patience, and they really extended out a really cool offer to come and work with Effy and really build something special. And it was just about 5 years at Effy, overseeing their talent acquisition, HFG, and their promotional company, to overseeing cruise operations. And, just like we all wear many hats. So a little bit of business development, a little bit of PR, but it's all about relationships. We talk about so the cruise operations, which really cruise line relations. And basically traveling around the planet and being at these different conventions and conferences, speaking on panels and being a really big advocate for our industry. I think it's something that I really enjoyed. Um, I found myself here at Starboard in Miami, and I work 1 week here, 1 week call, 1 week here, 1 week call. It's my hybrid schedule, and I oversee the retail experience. I oversee with the dance activation, but my leader here, Lisa Malcolm, was a, she was in a phenomenal company for me. I have nothing but great things to say about my experiences there. Starboard is a phenomenal company. If you ever get a chance to work with either, I would suggest it highly. But Starboard's been really great. And my leader here is Lisa Bauer. She's the CEO and president. Back when I was in hotel operations, speaking about relationships, she was the senior vice president of hotel operations and Caribbean. So our paths started crossing in that role. Our paths crossed through the industry over various types of global media with Effy and ultimately now with Starboard. And I've been just so lucky with the relationships that I've built here, along the way. And events activations. I oversee our sales optimization team, was like an operational arm of the company. Recently, I started overseeing a new department within my work that's called Retail Excellence, which really focuses on onboard execution. And also, I get to help out now taking a leader on business development. So all these things are really buzzing and exciting, and these are opportunities that you get. And one thing I just want to say is that like many of us, you would never be able to draw a dotted line from youth staff to vice president of finance. Right? The path is not normal. The youth staff typically don't become cruise directors. Cruise directors don't become hotel ops managers. Hotel ops managers definitely don't go run for shop and all the things. This industry is incredible for that, between the relationship, also the opportunities that you get. And and I also still feel to this day, whether you're looking to get in this industry or whether you want to work at Starboard or anywhere else, if you just want to get in, I want to help people, because it sounds corny, but when I led talent acquisition at Effy, I saw it firsthand. When we would go to India, we would go to Romania, we would go to South Africa often, and you would see people who come from not a lot, who have that desire to build and grow, and they come to ships and they make astronomical amounts of money that they would never have the opportunity to back home, which then sets them up financially for really whatever they want to do. And so I really believe that this industry changes the trajectory of people's lives. And for those of us who are in it or have a connection to it, like you included, someone comes to you, if we can connect them and help their lives, and they can really have a sliver of what we've had, then I feel it's worth it. And it can change lives.
not everyone gets to love what they do, and not everyone will love everything that they do every day in their professional career. But I think this industry has more people per capita that truly love and you still get excited after decades of working in it about new things. Like you said, you still get excited when you see a ship leave port, as do I. And I also think, like you said, not only does this industry change your story, your personal story when you go work on board and become a crew member, but it changes entire family legacies. There's not a lot of like jobs that you can get that has the potential to change like a family legacy, in a fairly low risk way as well.
Yeah,
You go and get a job on a ship and you don't have to pay for housing and meals, and it really is, if you're coming from, building your own legacy, then you can really, get ahead for yourself and your family. And so many
yeah,
crew members do that. And whether they stay in the same position for 20 years or 30 years at sea and retire, or they have a career that's kind of been all over the place like you and
yeah.
I think. But for you, when you're speaking, the through thread for me on you is, one, you're a natural salesperson. You just are. And I think that that's why, when you were in that in between role that didn't totally connect with everything, it's because you are a salesperson. You are a people person. You love, you know, that kind of energy. And I think that that is what you are born to do. Like, that is an absolute talent for you. I think one of the other true strengths that I have seen molded in you time and time and time again is the connections. You connect with people. You keep in touch with people. You are so good about sending that text and like, hey, how are you doing? Like, what's going on? Like, how's life?
Yeah,
A lot of people, have these deep connections in their professional setting. And then once you've left maybe one setting for another, you kind of lose touch. I know that, like, that is not who you are. Like, you
mm-mm.
really genuinely love staying in touch with the people that your path has crossed with.
I think nobody likes somebody when they only reach out when they need something. I will say, especially as I get older, my circle certainly gets tighter of who I let in it or who I keep in it. But at the same time, I think that that's just you, you have to naturally and authentically want to keep that connection, but then also, strategically, it's a good move too. People are more willing to go out of their way for you or keep you a shot or make that connection email. And I think also that is a superpower that I've realized I've had over the years in this industry is a connector. You know, that's something I love to do. And if I can help bring two entities together, whether it benefits me directly or not, I don't really care. It's just if I know somebody and you want to do something cool and we can connect, I can be that connector and be like, okay, cool, you guys take it from here. I think that's the ultimate fulfillment also for me. So
And I think, like, too, for the younger generation as well, that's kind of up and coming in their professional career. I think oftentimes, and this is probably more how I, think sometimes, or used to think, it's like you feel like, oh, well, if I reach out and just say like, hey, how are you? Thinking of you. Like, am I going to is that like cringy? Is that annoying? Is that, but really, truly, like,
yeah,
genuine like care and friendship, if somebody gets annoyed with that, well, that's their problem, not yours.
yeah,
But continuing to like make those human connections, like in the world of social media, in the world of like quickly swiping and not commenting
yeah.
and all of those kinds of things, like true, reaching out, checking on people, keeping in touch, like, not only will it serve you personally, but it will serve you professionally because
It can come full circle, and just a general thing in life, but especially in the industry, as large as the industry is, it really is a small world. And so you never want to burn bridges. You want to do everything the right way, even if you're leaving, companies to go to other ones, how you leave and you have to do what you say and say what you do and be open and transparent. Don't burn bridges, ever. I mean, that's just a thing for life. Even if you have to have a hard conversation, people will respect you so much more for having that conversation, even if it is a little cringe. But as long as it's honest and genuine, people might not like it, but they can respect it. And I think that that's something. Don't be afraid to have strong conversations or stand up for yourself or to really be open. I think it will come back and benefit you. And also, to this day, Raw Media, I still talk to the CEO. Well, it's no longer a company, but I still talk to the old CEO. Effy, I still talk to Jennifer, who is my direct boss, and I still talk to Bobby from time to time. Still just such a good, and I keep in touch with them genuinely because I owe a lot to them from a personal perspective too. Personally and personally, they were very great people in my life on both fronts, and I have a deep respect for both of them. So my connection with them is very authentic, but it's how you carry yourself. Yeah, what we would consider a competitor to Effie to still have great relations, I think is the most important thing for me. But it's just also the right way to do business and also the right way to be as a person.
I think another thing that I learned from you and that I've tried to put into practice as well is like, I learned such an enormous amount working at Effie for you and for other leaders that I worked under, and even just direct colleagues and coworkers, and you learned so much in that environment, and daily is still a gift to me. The skills that I learned very quickly, but oftentimes, when I'm using a skill that I learned, whether it be something so simple as, when I came to Effie, my computer skills were not great. I hadn't been on a computer in a while professionally. And even just like minor things that I was like almost cringy and embarrassed to even ask somebody to show me. Nope,
Yep.
nobody ever made me feel bad for showing me. And then I learned it and then I use it. And I was even working on a presentation last night. And I said to my husband, who was working across from me on his computer, I said, honestly, I couldn't have done any of this, had I not worked at Effie.
Yep.
And occasionally, like when I'm using those skills, like I'll shoot somebody a message and be like, you'll never guess what I'm doing right now. And you
Yeah.
taught me this. And I'm still so thankful. And I think
That's so
really,
cool.
reaching out to past colleagues in any capacity when you're using the things that they taught you, like
Yeah.
it's such a gift that they've given you. And then also it's such a gift for them that the time that they use, their personal time, all we all have
Yeah.
is time to teach you something that you're still like, thriving because of it. I just think
Yeah.
it takes 2 seconds and it will uplift you and it will uplift them. And so I would tell the younger generation that too, whether
Yeah.
your current job is, whatever it is, if you're just trying to get on cruise ships and you're babysitting, like if the people you're babysitting for teach you something about bank account, 5 years from
Yeah.
now, you might be, using some of those skills and send them that message. It really does mean a lot. And I think every time you put that out as
Yep.
well, like it comes back to you tenfold.
I think just to, piggyback off this, two things that I learned, as I've grown more professionally that I would love to share with anybody who can benefit from this or not, or the young people is um, ask for feedback, be open to receiving it. You don't want to get a trophy every day. It's always nice to get a pat on the back, a high five, a great job. And I think it's important for leaders to do, but also as somebody who's receiving feedback, or wanting to grow, ask for feedback, seek it out, and don't not only the good stuff. Seek out the areas that you have the opportunity for growth in and be okay with hearing that feedback. Don't be defensive, be open to it because that's where the true growth lies. So that's something I still do. In all my one-on-ones, I give my updates and then I ask, what can I do better? What do you see as an opportunity for me? And you can only get there when you like, so I wish I got there a little earlier in don't be afraid to ask questions. So if everyone's sitting at a table and they're all using an acronym that all of them know, but you don't know, well, the way that you were super computer literate, let's say, when you saw help, you ask the questions, it doesn't make you look silly. It doesn't make you look dumb. What it actually does, it shows your commitment to learning and to getting better and understanding the environment you're in. So I even did that when I joined at Stockboard, and everyone is using new acronyms that I had no idea what we were talking about. And even to this day, there's some that come up, and I'll be like, "Excuse me, what does that even mean?" Okay, they're like, "Anthony," they say it now. I'm like, "Makes total sense," but then I got it right. So don't I'd like smile and nod along, because you get nothing out of that. So just don't be afraid to ask questions when you're unsure on something, even if you feel like you should know the answer like stop and seek it out. Don't be afraid to put your hand up. So those would be two things I say, you know, still to this day, be open to feedback and always ask questions, especially if you don't understand what people are talking about. Don't smile and not want. I used to do that. I don't anymore.
100%. Hearing you say that, it made me think of it in a totally different way of if you think it's something you should know, It's like, yeah. So if it's something you should know, you should ask.
Yeah.
Don't just like wait until till you figure it out on your own. It's like I shared on the very first episode of the podcast, my genesis story of working on ships, and I was too afraid to ask for directions to the mess. And it turned into me like vomiting in a dressing room on my first day, so
Yeah.
I should have just asked where this is. I mean, but young Laura was like, I should know where this is. I'm not going to ask for help. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lesson that will continue to come to us until we just learn like, hey, could just say, I don't know what you're talking about. Can you tell me what PPD is?
Exactly. Like there's one thing that this industry is famous for, and it's acronyms. So whether you're at Royal or Effy or Starboard or
Anywhere.
anywhere else,
Exactly.
no.
Yeah. I remember when, me starting my job at Effy was the first time I had started at a new company in like almost 20 years. So there was so much to learn, and we created like this, Effy lingo Bible. So every time a new acronym would come and I'd find out what it is, or anyone else on the team, it was a shared file and we'd all just add it. And, it became a great resource for when newer team members came. We could be like, this might save you a couple steps, but when you
Yeah.
learn a new one, you need to ask and add it in. So
I think when I worked at Royal Caribbean, I could form a full sentence only using acronyms, So
totally. I'd like talk about 50 different ships with like 3 letters,
yeah.
That's great. Oh, I love it. Okay. So one of the questions I love to ask all my guests, 21-year-old Laura joining a ship for the first time as an American, from Southern California. Like I didn't know what I didn't know about the cultural differences between Americans and other cultures or anything like that. But I think we all have that moment because it is such an incredible melting pot. So what's something that surprised you either about your culture as a Canadian or other
Mhm.
cultures working in such a unique environment?
Wow, that's a good question. One, I would say that growing up in Vancouver, Canada, everyone everyone out there loves Vancouver. I've never heard someone say I hate Vancouver. They might hate the Vancouver real estate prices, but they all love Vancouver, and it's just such a naturally beautiful place. And I think that I didn't know what I had growing up um, until I left. Vancouver. I went to university in Quebec, and then right after Quebec, I went to ships. And then right after ships, I moved to Miami, and now I live in Austin, Texas. So I don't really go to Vancouver all that much anymore. But one thing is definitely realizing that I came from a pretty incredible place. Because for me, ocean mountains were normal until I started discovering the world and realizing, that there's so much more out there. But Vancouver really is a unique place. Vancouver was a very multicultural city already, and I think that that's probably what made me love ships. I love multicultural because I feel being exposed to all the cultures, you end up having a respect for it. You're not scared of it because, and I think on ship, 100 nationalities all together, it's the coolest thing I think that could ever happen. I met people from countries I can't even pronounce. And I think, like, quite honestly, one of the things, just in terms of the culture thing, is how many countries have Independence Days. I'm like, wait, what country did you get independence from? I had no idea. I learned a lot. It might sound silly now, but back then when I was young, I was like, you know, I didn't realize a lot of these countries once had a different, I don't know, country overseeing it, let's call it.
Yeah.
Kind of like,
Yep.
yeah. That being said, how many countries are out there? We're in the cultures, the history, the traditions, the languages, a multitude of languages. Like in India, I can't even tell you how many, official languages there are, but just being exposed to crew members from all around the world, trying new foods, and just really it broadened your horizons so much. But to narrow it down, it would definitely be the Independence Days because there's always a party, and then it's like, who?
And always good food.
And I was like, who are they independent from? And I learned more. Yeah, exactly. So then you learn about people and in countries, and I think that just enriches the experience even more. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. It's so true. It's so true. And I think um it makes, if you're already a naturally curious person, which I think you have to have a certain amount of curiosity anyway to like leave home and go semester abroad, work on a cruise ship, whatever it is, you have to have like that sort of level of natural curiosity, but it really makes you a lot more curious about other people, other
Yeah.
people's customs, other people's foods, as a self-proclaimed foodie. I mean, it's incredible the horizons that were opened by doing a season in Asia, and like going to these incredible restaurants. And what I love too about working on cruise ships is oftentimes when you're in a country, there's somebody on board from a lot of times even that city. And so then they'll
Yeah.
take you, to their favorite restaurant or their favorite place, or they'll say, oh, you don't need to worry about seeing that. Go do this instead. It's almost like you have your insider.
Yes. Yeah. And everyone's so proud to show you where they come from in their home, the same way I am when people come to Vancouver or to now where I live in Austin, Texas. I can't wait to show them around. And that's like most of us, I remember traveling in my vacation time when I would do my 6 months on, or when I was a cruise director, 4 months on, and then 2 months off. My 2 months off, I was never home. I went and
Right?
visited all around the world and I stayed at their homes. I didn't spend a lot of money on accommodation or transportation or even food for that matter. I was always going somewhere where I met somebody, whether that's Peru, South Africa. I went to Europe. I went like different parts of the United States, different parts of Canada, seeing friends that I made on ships. And so, it's just, it becomes a whole lifestyle. It's not just a working place. It's a lifestyle. So
Yeah. And then coming to normal life is sometimes a little bit of a
I grew up on ships. I joined ships when I was just over 21, and I didn't have to put up with rent because I never rented places. I never had a mortgage. I never had all these things to deal with. And then when I became 31 and I moved to Miami, all of a sudden I had to pay rent, I had to pay tax, I had to buy groceries, I had to get a car, make car
car
payments.
insurance.
I was like, oh my, all these things. And then trying to, on ships, you don't think about your medical's covered, right? So then, and in Canada, we covered it. So when you get to the United States, and I remember like, I still don't know truly what's the difference between an HMO and a PPO. And it was like working on land became so, I felt way more comfortable on ships. I understood the dynamics on ships, the lifestyle on ships.
Yeah.
So here I am now, 45, and I still feel like I'm getting, used to life on land a little bit. So
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, you still have a little bit of that. Oh man,
yeah,
100%. Hayden and I have joked actually through the years, like, oh, well, when we retire, maybe we'll go back to ships. Like,
hey, you never
skip
know.
back to sea. You never know. Yeah,
Yep,
yeah. Our new goal is that when our son graduates, so he's 9 years, and he should figure
yep,
it out so he can really put a budget together. But yeah, we want to have him have his gap year and world cruise with us. That is
that's
what we're
awesome.
working
That would be
towards.
great.
So that's right about when we want to retire. Let's plan for this. So that's our goal. And he loves telling
Yeah,
everyone, well, I'm going to take a gap year and go on a world cruise with Dad.
amazing.
Yes.
Well,
Yes. Yep. Got to plan for the life you want, right?
uh,
Otherwise it just passes by.
exactly.
Yep.
And quite honestly, the education, the firsthand education you get by experiencing things, and being in the country and not just learning about it from a program on the television or when you can see it, smell it, try it, do all the things in that country. It's something that can never be replicated. So I think that will be great for you and your son and Hayden to do. It's very
Think
rewarding.
it's going to be a fun goal. So we're working towards that. Well, Anthony, I can't thank you enough for sharing your story of starting in your humble beginnings and working your way all the way up to the executive level and every chapter that in between and everything you've learned along the way. And I know you've got so much more wisdom to share, but again, I want to thank you for the role that you've played in my professional development and my personal life. And just, I've loved watching your path unfold, and I'm so excited to see and continue to see what you do going.
Oh, thanks. And the feeling's the same. You're just one of those special people that I've met along the way that has that true desire to always do new things, try new things, and you're not afraid to go out and you really like, look at what we're doing now. I never thought even a year ago I'd be talking to you on a podcast. I know you're doing a lot more beyond the podcast and really doing great things within this industry as well. So it's just a pleasure to watch what you're doing and how you're continuing to grow. And all I can say is if you're watching, whether you're in this industry or you want to get into it, reach out to Laura, reach out to me. I'm very accessible. Find me on LinkedIn, friend me, message me. And if it's something that you even want to talk more about, do I belong in retail, entertainment? Do I belong somewhere else in the cruise industry? I would love to guide you in that way out.
And it's a generous offer. So if you're listening, take him up on it. Anthony knows so much about the industry and different places where you may fit. And he really is good at putting people on the path that's really true to who they are and their talents as a person. So yes, I mean, amazing offer. I will link your LinkedIn in the show notes as well.
Great.
So make it easy for people to find you. And I cannot wait till I get to see you in person next. Who knows where in the world this will be?
You
That's the beauty
know,
of our industry too. You know, I'm just as likely to see you in Istanbul as I am to see you in Colorado or Texas
yeah,
or Miami. Who knows?
who knows?
Something to look forward to for people that are wanting to get into this industry. You're going to have friends and you're going to meet them all over the world. Very cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
thanks
Well,
so much,
thank you.
Anthony. Appreciate you coming on. All right. So if you want to learn more about Anthony and his path, you can follow him on LinkedIn. He's an amazing person at sharing all of his journeys there, and reach out, like he said. What a wonderful, wonderful offer. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next pod. Thank you for listening to Joy at Sea. To find out more about us, our books, and products, please visit us on the web at joyatseaandfriends.com or on Facebook or Instagram at Finding Joy at Sea. To be featured on an episode, you can find our email in the show notes. Until next time, we hope you have a joyful day.